Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome inside Pittsburgh CW. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Also, you can hear it as we put it on the radio, 93.7 The Fan, on a simulcast. So we welcome your calls, and all you have to do is call the Borders and Borders hotline, which is 412-575-2600. You can also tweet at KDPomp, at Chris Mueller, PGH. Chris is in the studio tonight after taping of Steelers Huddle, which is on our streaming at CBS Pittsburgh. And so it's nice to have you here, Chris. I know it's a little easier when you're down here to stay here and get this done. So we have a lot to get into. And I want to first off get into what you think. You know, the Steelers went down to 80. I was a little surprised about Oladukin, although I do suspect he'll be back. But what are they going to do next week? They're going to make 27 roster moves to get down to 53. And I would imagine they're going to be a surprise or two in there. If you had to guess a surprise or two, mine would be Benny Snell's topping the list, even though I think he played well in the given time he was in there last week in Jacksonville.
Well, Benny Snell, I think, has obviously been usurped by Jaylen Warren. He seems like he's going to be the backup. Mike Tomlin clearly loves Warren because even though he put Piggy on the ground, big Cardinal sin there, Bob. You know that as well as I do. Tomlin still, you can just tell with him if you've watched Mike Tomlin talk and listened to him talk and tried to read between the lines long enough. When he really likes a guy, there's a certain way he talks about him. I think that applies with Warren. The Snell thing, to me, I don't know if it is to you, it's strictly a commentary on when they say special teams matters, how much does it matter? Because if it really does matter a lot, Benny Snell will find his way to stay on this football team because they love him on special teams. If they feel like he is at all fungible, I think he's the guy that's the odd man out stylistically, don't you? Like McFarland's looked pretty good, and he actually represents some sort of change of pace. Jaylen Warren and Benny Snell are pretty redundant, and frankly, Warren has looked a lot better and a lot more explosive.
Yeah, he has. Change of pace is something they've been looking for ever since they, drafted McFarland in the 4th round. And this training camp, more so than last year, he looks much better. So I think they may keep him around for that, as you said, because it is a change of pace. But, Benny Snell is, to me, important if Najee Harris gets injured. If he's not, then getting a couple of carries a game, and you never can predict that, but I think it's going to be interesting. Let's also talk about, I think they need help. We all know what the offensive line has to do, which is get better quickly and in a large degree of improvement. But as far as the depth on the defensive linebacker spot, and I'll say both inside and outside, to me that's a little bit of a concern. They have a nice front seven. If everybody's healthy there, I think their defensive line is the deepest position on their team. Maybe on the same level as maybe wide receiver if everybody pans out. What about depth there in those other two spots?
Well, you mentioned that there will be some surprises in the 27 cuts to get them down to 53. I thought there was a surprise in the 5 to get them from 85 to 80. Jannard Avery gets cut. I don't understand that. Mike Tomlin gave a very vague, sort of not satisfactory answer as to why that happened. He just said, it's a numbers game. We cut guys. I don't get that one. He looked good to me in the Jacksonville game. Derek Tuszka and pretty much everybody else they have slated to back up Highsmith and Watt did not. Jannard Avery also got picked up immediately by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yes, he did.
Todd Bowles is a defensive guy. I mean, he knows defense. He's like Mike Tomlin in that way. I just don't understand that. Can somebody explain to me? Can you explain to me, Bob?
No.
Can any of our callers? What does Derek Tuszka bring to the table? What do the Steelers like so much about him? 2 career sacks, not a special teams guy. Just somebody tell me what I'm not seeing. As far as inside backer, I think the most interesting story that's going to play out, everybody knows Miles Jack is the man on one side, and then we've all talked about, are they going to play sub-package football so much that the Spillane-Bush battle doesn't really end up mattering much? Mark Robinson. If I were going to make a wild out there prediction about this season, it would be this. Mark Robinson is going to be the linebacker who plays the most snaps next to Miles Jack of anybody by the time the season ends. I think they quietly love him, but don't want to say it because he is limited still in some ways. But I think the coaching staff and probably teammates can get behind a guy that plays downhill and hits like a dump truck when he gets the chance.
Yeah, and he's done that ever since he got here. He's done it at St. Vincent College. He did it in college after he was converted from running back. We were pretty high on him going into the preseason games. And actually his instincts when it comes to trying to figure out how things are going are really, really off the charts good, I think, for someone who was undrafted. So I would agree with that assessment. We have a lot more coming up and we want your phone calls. We're also going to talk about the Pirates and where exactly are they in this rebuild, tank job, whatever you refer to it as, because to me it's way behind schedule, even though they're going basically down to the bottom here and trying to retool. At some point you want to see some evidence that they've made some right decisions. You compare them with the Atlanta Braves, you'll find totally different kind of outcomes there. We'll talk about that and more as we continue right here. It is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Get on the phone, give us a call. 412-575-2600 right here, Pittsburgh CW and 93.7 The Fan.